I say we go for a Heat Wave. That's what I say we do. I don't think I think they stay in. I think they stay in expecting a Volt Switch. They are going to have trouble like switching on the Zapdos, that's for sure. So they go for a BP, as I expected. Probably expecting us to go for a Volt Switch right now, but we get the static, not that it matters. And then all we have to do is not miss the Heat Wave. There we go, as Heat Wave comes through and KOs this is brilliant. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Wi-Fi battle. Today we're in a battle versus Erland from the Discord server in the underused tier. Looking at the team, they got a Rain team, Pelipper, Barraskewda, Zapdos, Scizor, Donphan, and a Sinistcha. We've got a pretty cool looking team. We've got a Choice Band Haxorus, which always deals heavy damage. Can't go wrong with that. Zapdos on there. I think I will lead off because, like, actually, they have got Stealth Rock Center, so maybe not. They probably lead off with Pelipper, but I think I'll lead off with Azelf. If we can get the Stealth Rocks up and force a Rapid Spin from the Donphan at some point, that'd be great. Greninja looks like he's going to put in some work if we get rid of that Barraskewda. That's for sure. But we do have the Terra Electric on that as well, so we could do that. So let's just see how it goes. And the battle begins. Good luck, have fun, Erland. So as you can see, we're doing this whole face cam thing. Figured I'd try it out, because why not? We lead off with Azelf. They lead off straight away with the Barraskewda, which is interesting. So we could definitely do something here. We could get up a Future Sight or something along those lines. Or we could U-turn, because they're probably going to flip turn anyway. So if we U-turn, we're probably going to be in a better situation. So I'm going to go for a U-turn now. They do go for the flip turn of their own, which is going to nearly take us down to our Sash, which is fine. And then they're more than likely going to go into, I would say, Scizor. But Azelf could be offensive with the Fire Blast. But at the same time, I wouldn't go for a Fire Blast on the Barraskewda, would I? Donphan comes in. They're expecting hazards, which is fair enough. The only problem I've got here is this could be Rocky Helmet. We have broke the Sturdy. But like I said, it could be Rocky Helmet. Could be Rocky Helmet. I'm doing this thing with my finger. I don't know why. So, what do we do here? I guess we just go Greninja. There's no reason not to go Greninja against the Donphan. And we could definitely predict the switch into the Sinistcha or the Pelipper or something along those lines and go for a Dark Pulse. That could be cool. I don't want to lose my Greninja, but I don't think they'll stay in with Donphan, that's for sure. So I'm going to go for a Dark Pulse here, just because I know they're going to switch out. If they stay in for whatever reason, then they have got balls of steel. They do withdraw the Donphan, which is great. What are they going to go into, though? That's the real question. They go into the Pelipper. So Pelipper comes in. We can get some nice Dark Pulse damage off on the Pelipper, which would be great. They do get the Drizzle up, which is all well and good. We go for a Dark Pulse. It should 2-hit KO. It does 2-hit KO. They're no doubt going to switch out, but getting Dark Pulse chip on something is still going to be really useful, so I'm going to stick to it. So they're going to withdraw the Pelipper, which is fine. Let's see what they go into to take this Dark Pulse. Scizor. Scizor isn't really the best Pokemon to take a Dark Pulse, but then again, they haven't got much options within this particular situation. So we go for Dark Pulse. They're not seeing Life Orb damage. They know we're probably heavy duty boots on the Zapdos, so they might think we're Specs. We are in fact Expert Belt. I could easily go for a Surf here in the rain and take this thing out. But do I want to risk that when I could easily just switch in my Zapdos here? Or my Deinonychus, my Skeledirge, or even my Forretress? I don't know. I think I will go into Zapdos. Zapdos seems like a solid switch. It takes both stabs. Close combat coverage is also not very effective. The only thing they can really do is knock off, which if they knock off, it's not the end of the world. So they go for a BP. That's going to definitely do nothing. But we might get static. We don't get static, unfortunately. So they're probably expecting a Hurricane here. And looking at the team, nothing wants to take a Hurricane. So I am going to go for that Hurricane. There's no reason not to. Looking at the damage the Dark Pulse did from Greninja, I'd say Hurricane has a good chance of taking this thing out as well. So they withdraw the Scizor. What are they going to go into, though? That's the real question. What's their switch in here? Donphan is the switch in. They may be expecting a Volt switch. I suppose it is like, they haven't really got the best switch into a Hurricane, to be fair. So this Hurricane is going to do over half, which is amazing. So now we can actually stay in and go for another, we can go for another Hurricane. No problem. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to spam Hurricane. I'm taking advantage of their rain as Donphan goes down. If we get the Stealth Rocks up, they are up for good. They'll hurt the Pelipper. They'll hurt the Barraskewda. You name it, it's getting hurt. In comes the Barraskewda. So this thing, we know this thing's a threat in the rain. I am physically defensive, so I should be able to take a Liquidation from this thing and go for a Volt Switch. I'm just wondering whether or not that's the best thing to do. Might be worth going into Forretress to red card it out. That could be usable, and then we can just kind of Volt Switch on whatever they get brought into. So I think I will do that. I'll go into the Fortress and I'll just red card them. If they get red carded, they don't get to choose which Pokemon they get sent out into. It's like Raw, Whirlwind, etc. Just like them. They do go for a liquidation. It's going to do over half. Yes, it does. Oh, physically defensive Fortress cannot take a liquidation in the rain from a Barraskewda. But you know what? It's fine. I don't mind that. Because we red carded it out as they get red carded into Pelipper. So Pelipper comes in. This thing's probably going to want to go for either a flip turn of its own or it'll go for a Weather Ball. Or a Hurricane. Do we have a switch into that? Not really. I'd rather not lose my Azelf yet. They don't have a Hazard Setter anymore, so I don't have to worry about my Rapid Spinning on the Fortress. So I'll go for a Volt Switch just in case. They do in fact go for a Roost, which is actually great for us because it means they are still a pure Water type. So they're going to take super effective damage from the Volt Switch, which does a little bit of chip, not too much. And what we could do here is we could definitely go Greninja and Terra Electric, but the Barraskewda still outspeeds us. If Greninja has the boost from the Battle Bond, Barraskewda in the rain still outspeeds. So we've got to be very careful of that. So looking at the team, I would say Sizzle's low on health. We could very easily go into our Haxorus and start outraging just like all over their face. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get the Stealth Rocks up first. I am going to get the Stealth Rocks up first. So we'll bring Spirit in again, or Sprit as I've called it. It was meant to be Spirit, but I just typed it wrong. Leave me alone. Anyway, let's go for his Stealth Rocks just to get them up on their side of the field. They're going to be useful, especially if that Barraskewda is going to be flip turning everywhere. They do withdraw the Pelipper. What are they going to go into? Is it the Sizzle time? Sizzle comes in. So with Sizzle in, we're not in a bad position. So we go for a Stealth Rocks, and then basically we can go for a Future Sight or we can switch out. It's one of the two. They more than likely go for a U-turn here to get Pelipper back in, expecting the Zapdos to switch in. So I'm not expecting a Bullet Punch. I'm going to go for a Future Sight. Now, if they Bullet Punch, it's not the end of the world. If they don't Bullet Punch, we get a free Future Sight off. So at the end of the day, we win. They go for a Bullet Punch, not the end of the world. Like I said, a Zelf going down is not the end of the world at all. I've said it's not the end of the world about 500 times now. I do tend to repeat myself, don't I? I don't know why. It's just how I've always been. So, we don't want to waste Battle Bond yet until our Barraskewda is gone. We could go Skeledirge. We could go Zapdos. I'm leaning towards Zapdos, and I'll tell you why. Is because they have a predicament. They either lose their Sizzle to Heat Wave, or they risk the Volt Switch with their Pelipper, or they go into their own Zapdos. Ooh. I say we go for a Heat Wave. That's what I say we do. I don't think I think they stay in. I think they stay in expecting a Volt Switch. They are going to have trouble like switching on the Zapdos, that's for sure. So they go for a BP, as I expected. Probably expecting us to go for a Volt Switch right now, but we get the static, not that it matters. And then all we have to do is not miss the Heat Wave. There we go, as Heat Wave comes through and KOs the Scizor. Brilliant. So with Scizor out of the way, Haxorus literally has no outrage switch-ins at all on their team. Choice Band Haxorus is going to go hard against that team. I can already tell. In comes the Barraskewda. So Barraskewda is an interesting one. We can definitely take a hit from it, no problem, I'm guessing, because we are physically defensive, and there is the chance that we paralyze it with static, so it might be worth staying in and Volt Switching. Like I said, if we get rid of the Barraskewda, Greninja, chef's kiss, Greninja goes hard. Let's go for a Volt Switch just in case we live, and also just because we might get static. We do live because I'm defensive, and we get a Volt Switch off, which should KO the Barraskewda. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, that we are in a very, very good position. Now, unfortunately, they haven't Terra'd yet, so they could still pull a surprise Terror on us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for Fortress because I'm not really bothered about what they do. If Fortress comes in right now, if they go in Sinistcha, we just slow Volt Switch on them into Haxorus and just click Outrage. Because there's no way they Terra Fairy on Sinistcha. Zapdos comes in, so this thing is just going to Heat Wave on us. And you know what? I'm going to let it do it. I'm going to let it do its thing. I'm going to go for a Volt Switch just in case they don't. But they no doubt go for a Heat Wave here. So they go for a Hurricane. They actually risk the Hurricane. Nice. And that's going to take out Fortress. Absolutely fine by me. We need to just whittle away at this Zapdos' health a little bit. That's what we need to do. So I'm inclined to go into Skeledirge just so we can go for the Will-O-Wisp Hex thing. But at the same time, I'm more inclined to go into Haxorus and just click Outrage. Because no doubt we outspeed this thing. I have no doubt in my mind we outspeed this thing. Do I do it though? Because we could get staticked. You know what? Screw it. Let's go Haxorus. Haxorus is coming in, everyone. Haxorus is here. Blade is here. Looking amazing. We're going to break that mold, which means... Does that mean we don't get staticked? I don't know, actually. That's a good question, though. If I do say so myself. Let's go for the Outrage real quick, because there's no reason not to. If they Terra Steel here, they can't KO us with Hurricane, so... Well, we'll be locked into Outrage, but... I'm hoping they don't Terra Steel. They don't. They Volt Switch on the Outspeeders, which is interesting. So they're not a defensive Zapdos. That's actually good to know. And they're going to bring in another Pokemon to sack off, basically, here. Because they haven't got anything to switch into Outrage. Nothing at all. Sinistcha, ha! Watch how it takes this Outrage after Stealth Rocks. Just watch how it takes this Outrage. It takes it like a champ. I didn't think it would take it at all. But we outspeed it, so it's not a big deal. We can still just go for an Outrage. Unless they're Terra Fairy. They're not Terra Fairy. They go down to the Outrage. Haxorus is coming through for us right now. What an absolute legend. And hopefully we get confused here. If we get confused, we can switch out. Yeah, there we go. We get confused, so we can switch out. Great. Cool. So we're not locked into no Outrages on no Zapdoses that Terra Steel. There's always a possibility. They're going to go into Pelipper now. Pelipper's an interesting one. So it's going to get the Rain up once again, which is going to help Zapdos. That's for sure. But what do we go into here? If we assume they're going to go for a Hurricane, we should sack off Zapdos. We don't even need Skeletor to come on the field, I don't think. I think Haxorus and Greninja handle this just fine. I really think they do. So we'll withdraw. We'll go into Zapdos. If they Roost, we just Volt Switch the next turn. If they don't Roost and they go for a Weather Ball, we lose Zapdos. But they go for a Roost. That's great. So they go for the Roost, which is fantastic. Because it means now we just go for a Volt Switch. If they Terra here with a Pelipper, that's perfect. I'd rather them Terra with a Pelipper than the Zapdos. That's for sure. I would much rather that. Much rather that. So we Volt Switch. They actually stay in. And they do not take that Volt Switch very well. That Pelipper is down for the count. That's for sure. However, our Zapdos is also kind of down for the count. So we're going to have to sack it off. So what we'll do is we'll bring Haxorus in first. Because we don't know what this Zapdos that they're bringing in is going to do, right? So we bring Zapdos in. We bring Haxorus in on their Zapdos, which they've got left. But they could easily pull this back with Terra Steel. Terra Steel Zapdos could pull this back. So we have to be careful. So I'm going to go back into Zapdos now. Sack it off. Hopefully they reveal their Terra against my Haxorus right now. If they're Terra Steel, they would go for it because they're predicting the Outrage. If they're Terra Steel. If they're not, then so be it. So they go for a Hurricane. They don't Terra. Will Hurricane KO my Haxorus? That's the real question. That is the real question. So it looks like they aren't going to Terra. So I feel safe going into Haxorus now. And what I'm going to do with Haxorus is we get outsped and KO by Hurricane right now, right? We can all agree with that. We definitely all agree with that. So what do? The answer to that question is quite simple. We don't Terra with Haxorus. Because I'm Terra Bug for a start. We first impression here. Just to get as much damage off as possible on the Zapdos. Now that we know it's the offensive Zapdos and not a defensive one. They get the static. That's fine. And then they go for a Hurricane. They didn't predict the Terra Steel, which is good. And that takes out Haxorus. See, there's a reason I went for the first impression. It's because now it's weak enough for Greninja. And my Greninja is a special Greninja. Well, I mean, it's specially offensive. But it's also special in the fact that it's actually Terra Electric with Terra Blast. I'm not going to go for the Terra Blast. I'm obviously going to go for an Ice Beam here. But if they do Terra Steel now, even though I'm sure they would have already if they were going to. If they do Terra Steel now, we should be able to live a Hurricane / Volt Switch, whatever they go for. So let's go for the Ice Beam on the Terra Electric real quick like so. We'll be resistant to the flying. We'll be resistant to the electric. We're neutral to the heat wave, but they are in the rain, so it's going to do reduced damage anyway. So this should work out nicely for us. Unless they get a crit. So they are going to Terra. What type are they Terraing into? Are they going to go Steel? What? Water? Ooh. That's actually quite nice. Because that means even if his Ice Beam's resisted and does like a little bit of damage, they go for a Thunder. They didn't go for a Roost. They go for a Thunder. They can't paralyze us. We go for a Terra Blast Electric, and Terra Blast Electric Greninja works out nicely for us. How I'm pointing over at my bed for some reason. I don't know why I'm pointing. I'm just pointing. But Terra Blast comes through. That's going to take out the Zapdos, hopefully. And that is going to be the game, thanks to the Expert Belt boosting its power because it's a super effective move. Perfect. GG Erlen, that was a really fun one. I actually really enjoyed that one. Thank you for the game. Proper good one that was. That was really fun. I enjoyed that. That was really fun.